Om Shanti. Pita Shree PrajaPita Brahma Baba's Life History, Part 24. Title: God, the Destroyer of Obstacles. For the sake of restoring a peaceful atmosphere, Brahma Baba relocated the satsang to Karachi. Om Mandali informed its members that they would be allowed to stay at the new location only if they brought specific letters of permission from the heads of their households. A number of sisters and brothers obtained such letters immediately and moved to the new city to be with Brahma Baba. Eventually, most of Brahma Baba's children had found a way to get there. Brahma Baba made all the arrangements for the stay in Karachi. He purchased 5 bungalows in a secluded and peaceful area. The bungalows were named Baby Bhavan, Boys Bhavan, Prem Bhavan, Radha Bhavan, and Om Nivas. The school was reopened almost without a break, and the daily program for children went on much as before, but now they awoke earlier at 3:30 a.m., sitting in a peaceful samadhi for an hour, and then discussed the deep subjects of God's knowledge. Worldly subjects began after breakfast. One day, the children's yoga power was put to the test by an accident. Many of the young girls had been traveling by bus when a tire blew. The driver lost control and the bus turned over. Nearly all the girls were injured. Passers-by ran to the scene. They expected the children to be shrieking, moaning, and crying for their parents. But the girls made not even a sound, neither did they weep. No sign of the slight anxiety could be seen on their faces. They had automatically gone into deep meditation. When people asked how they felt, they answered simply, "I'm a soul, I'm peaceful." Ambulances took them to hospital. Some were given first aid and released. Those who were more seriously injured were admitted for treatment. One young girl even had an arm severed in the accident, but was quite calm and unaffected. The doctors and nurses were amazed at the extraordinary mental balance of these children. Not a trace of unhappiness crossed their faces, nor did they utter a single complaint. One girl, the least injured, went to tell Brahma Baba what had happened. He too remained completely calm and detached. "All right, daughter," he said. "Whatever was destined has happened. I will come to the hospital." First he went to the scene of the accident, then on to the hospital when he greeted all his children, checking their mental state as well as their physical condition. With a smile and his sweet words, he reassured them all. Brahma Baba saw that each was soul-conscious, peaceful, and unconcerned about pain. They had acquired much yoga power in a short time. This was published in the newspapers and became a topic of conversation throughout India. How even small children, by practicing Raja Yoga, could experience great pain without losing their equanimity. Now we go to the next title, which is The Opposition Strikes Again. Meanwhile, the women who had been unable to follow Brahma Baba to Karachi languished in their homes. They found it difficult to remain separated from the satsang, but the relatives forbade them to leave Hyderabad for even a short visit to Om Mandali. The gopis, lovers of God, began to meet together to meditate and to discuss points of knowledge. Letters often came from Brahma Baba, and they read them aloud to one another, taking courage from his gentle wisdom. But the feelings ran deep. To wait 5,000 years to meet God, only to be separated from Him by ignorant relatives, was to them a tragedy. One day, they could take it no longer. 15 women got together and decided to break their bonds. They hurriedly packed a few clothes and left for Karachi. The women wrote to their relatives when they got there, "We have all reached here safely. Do not worry about us." But for the anti-party, it was the last straw. They were determined to put an end to this situation. The families of those daughters and wives who had gone to Brahma Baba met with the heads of the anti-party and decided to strike immediately. First, they raised a large fund with which to pay off various officials and thus create a favorable climate for the attack. In their hearts, these families probably knew that their daughters had been justified in leaving, but they couldn't admit it to themselves. The girls had suffered abuse for months on end without giving in to anger. Yet, they never stopped wanting to learn more of the knowledge and seeking a pure environment to live in. They never lessened their devotion to God, and now they were liberated. But they had left without permission, and it was a bitter blow to the family heads. They sought revenge upon the only target they could think of. The anti-party began by applying pressure on the Ministry of Sindh, made up of both Hindu and Muslim officials. The Hindu ministers were instructed to pressure the Prime Minister. They met with him and said they would resign immediately if he did not order a prohibition of Om Mandali. If these Hindu ministers resigned, everyone knew the ministry itself would be broken. The Prime Minister could not issue such a prohibition, though, for he knew it would not hold up and could backfire on him, but he could look the other way while the anti-party used its own means of prohibiting the spiritual group. The anti-party next approached the editors of the Karachi newspapers. They seduced them with offers of money, while subtly threatening to undermine their advertising revenues if the paper refused to side with them. False and malicious articles began appearing about Om Mandali. Editorials suggested it be boycotted and investigated by the authorities concerning various fabricated accusations. Baba's children were also harassed by hired thugs. On several occasions they were physically beaten by such people, but the sisters and brothers remained undaunted. Finally, a major lawsuit came to trial. An irate husband took legal action demanding his conjugal rights. The entire community had taken sides over this case. The anti-party hired a well-known lawyer to prosecute the case. They focused their efforts on ridiculing Om Mandali in the court. The prime target was Om Radhe, the young administrative head of the institution. If she could be made to look foolish or worse on the witness stand, a great deal would have been accomplished. Om Radhe was a young woman, inexperienced and unused to speaking in public, yet she was made of steel, was virtuous, and of course she was completely loyal to God and His medium. She represented the practical demonstration of the power of the knowledge. Would she falter under cross-examination? Could they make her say things she didn't mean? Could they put the institution in a bad light? Many were eager to find out. It was a curious scene that took place in that courtroom in Hyderabad. No one among the onlookers or officials were prepared for what happened. 5 sisters, including Om Radhe, received passes to the court. When the car arrived in front of the judicial building, Police protection was required to keep the crowds of people under control. It seemed as if everyone in the district had shown up for the event. Even the police inspector and most of the local government heads were present. The sisters were escorted into the main courtroom, a large hall that was completely filled with people. Not even standing room was left in the gallery. Most of those outside would never even get a glimpse of the trial itself. The court had not yet come into session, and the noise of the crowds was deafening. However, as soon as Om Radhe and the other sisters entered the hall, silence fell over the gathering. All eyes focused on the young women in their white saris as they walked calmly down the aisle. This every moment was watched and waited. How would these people who claimed to be studying under God Himself hold up under scrutiny and pressure? How powerful was their magic? The onlookers were in awe of the calmness of the faces, and they wondered, is it possible that what they say is true? Has God Shiva incarnated in the body of Brahma Baba? If so, will God protect them in their hour of need? The sisters were serene as they waited for the scene to be played out. They understood this world to be simply a drama, a vast cinematic epic of defeat and victory, and they knew the beginning, the middle, and the end of the world drama. A 5,000-year play which would continue to repeat eternally. With God's knowledge as a shield, they remained detached from the events before them. Theatre goers having come to see the show. B.K. Prakash Mani, one of the sisters present, recounted later. We bore no ill will toward anyone. We had received from God the greatest gift anyone could imagine, and we were only on His service. We spread complete peace and tranquility throughout the courtroom. The judge gave them special chairs to sit on. He seemed entranced by Om Radhe's appearance, and indeed her demeanor was absolutely royal. In her white sari, she looked so innocent and noble, so completely out of place in a modern courtroom. The proceedings got underway. The lawyers acted out their roles, presenting their various motions and sundry formalities before the court, but it all seemed unreal, merely a prelude to something of real significance. The atmosphere in the court was tangible. To be continued in the next episode. Om Shanti.